You ever notice how some older men walk into a room and instantly shift the energy without even saying a word? They're not chasing attention. They're not trying too hard. Yet younger women can't help but be drawn to them. And it's not because of money, status, or looks alone. It's something deeper. It's the way they carry themselves, the way they flirt without seeming like they're flirting. There's a quiet edge to it, like a man who knows time is on his side, not against him. See, younger men try to impress. They flex, they joke too much, they overcompensate. But an older man who's mastered himself doesn't play that game. His presence alone is enough to make her curious. He doesn't need to win her. He makes her lean in, wondering what he's about. That mystery, that subtle pull, is more intoxicating to her than any cheap pickup line ever could be. What we're talking about here are not cheesy tactics or scripted moves. These are psychological triggers rooted in how women naturally respond to masculine energy, backed by evolutionary psychology, sharpened by experience, and polished by a stoic mindset. I'm going to break down the 7 most powerful flirting tricks older men use, the ones that don't just spark attraction, but build desire. And if you understand them, you'll never look at flirting the same way again. Here's the truth most guys don't want to admit. When it comes to flirting, younger men usually shoot themselves in the foot. They confuse loud energy with confidence, constant jokes with charm, and non-stop compliments with attraction. But to a younger woman, it feels needy. It feels like he's auditioning for her approval. And the moment she senses that, she pulls back. Because desire doesn't come from a man proving himself. It comes from a man who doesn't need to. This is where older men flip the script. They're not competing for attention. They're not trying to be the loudest voice in the room. Instead, they let silence do the heavy lifting. They understand that a pause before speaking can be more powerful than a rushed compliment. They know that eye contact, calm, unshaken, steady, says more than a rehearsed line ever could. It's not that they don't flirt. They flirt in a way that's so subtle, so grounded, it feels dangerous. And women crave that edge. Think about it like this. A young man is like a firework. Loud, flashy, but gone in seconds. An older man is like a fireplace. Warm, steady, magnetic. Something you can sit with for hours. That's the challenge most men face today. They're busy trying to be fireworks, when women secretly crave the fire that lasts. And here's the brutal part. If you don't learn this shift, you'll always come off as a guy who tries too hard. You'll be remembered as a noise in the background, not the man she can't stop thinking about. So the real question is this. What are those subtle tricks older men use that make women lean in instead of pulling away? That's what we're about to break down. Flirting trick 1. The power of presence. The first and most underrated flirting trick older men use isn't even something they say. It's the way they show up. Presence. You'd be surprised how rare it is today. Most men can't even sit across from a woman without fidgeting, checking their phone, or filling every silence with nervous chatter. But an older man has lived enough life to understand that presence is the ultimate form of attention. When he speaks, he doesn't rush. When she talks, he listens without that hungry look in his eyes. That grounded energy tells her, I'm not here because I need you. I'm here because I choose to be. Psychology backs this up. Studies on attraction consistently show that women respond not to the quantity of attention, but to the quality of it. A man who listens with patience, who holds eye contact without flinching, creates a sense of safety and intrigue at the same time. It's paradoxical. The calmer you are, the more tension she feels. Younger guys often confuse excitement with attraction, but true attraction is born from controlled restraint. Here's what makes it so powerful. Presence can't be faked. You can throw money around, you can recite clever lines, but if your energy is scattered, she feels it instantly. On the other hand, if you're fully grounded, if you carry yourself like a man who has nothing to prove, she feels that in her body before she even processes it in her mind. That's why an older man can sit quietly, say almost nothing, and still be the most magnetic person in the room. Presence is not passive. It's not about being quiet. It's about being anchored. And in a world where every guy is screaming for attention, the man who doesn't need to scream becomes unforgettable. That's why the first flirting trick isn't about what you do with your words. It's about what you do with your silence. Flirting trick 2. The subtleties of contrast. Here's something younger men usually miss. Attraction thrives in contrast. A younger guy often tries too hard to impress. Endless compliments, over-explaining, or proving how interesting he is. But an older man knows the real game. He teases with restraint. He gives just enough warmth to spark curiosity, then pulls back into composure. It's not manipulation, it's rhythm, like a song that keeps you hooked. Not because it blasts sound constantly, but because of the pauses, the beats, the spaces in between. Psychologists call this the intermittent reinforcement effect. When attention is given unpredictably, it becomes addictive. Casinos are built on this principle. So are relationships. A woman doesn't crave a man who hands her validation on a silver platter every second. She craves the man who makes her earn a slice of his attention, and then rewards her with a subtle smile, a witty remark, or that calm but piercing eye contact. Imagine this. She makes a playful comment, expecting you to jump in like every other guy. Instead, you pause, let a slow grin spread across your face, and say something that both acknowledges her and challenges her at the same time. That moment lodges in her memory because it's not predictable. It's not desperate. It's deliberate. And here's the hidden layer. The tease only works if you're comfortable with her not liking you. That's the part younger men can't handle. They're terrified of rejection, so they overcompensate with constant approval. The older man, he understands that a woman's attraction is not lost when you don't bend to her. It's ignited when you don't. He's willing to let the silence hang. He's willing to risk that she doesn't get it. That risk is what makes the tease so intoxicating. Flirting trick 3. The power of slowed down presence. One of the most magnetic things about an older man is how he carries time differently. A younger guy rushes, he talks fast, he fidgets, he checks his phone. He tries to fill every silence with noise. But an older man knows the truth. When you slow down, you take control of the room. You dictate the rhythm of interaction, and she unconsciously falls into your tempo. This is backed by psychology. Studies on communication show that slower speech and measured pauses signal authority and confidence. Think of the difference between a nervous intern spilling words at a meeting versus a seasoned CEO who waits, lets silence breathe, and then delivers a line with weight. One is forgettable, the other commands respect. Attraction works the same way. Picture this. She's talking quickly, her words bubbling with excitement, testing you with energy. Instead of matching her pace like every younger guy would, you lean back, lock eyes, and respond with calm, deliberate words. Suddenly, she slows down. She starts mirroring you. Without even realizing it, she's tuning into your frame, not the other way around. That's not just flirting, that's leadership. And here's the part most men never see. Women associate speed with insecurity. When you rush, you reveal that you're trying to keep up. When you slow down, you reveal that you have nothing to prove, nothing to chase. You're the mountain, not the leaf in the wind. And mountains don't move for anyone. They let others climb to meet them. That's why an older man's presence feels irresistible. It's not about his words alone, but the way he bends time around them. Flirting trick 4. The subtleties of withholding validation. Younger men tend to overgive. They compliment too much, laugh at everything she says, and pour validation like water from a broken faucet. At first, she'll smile, but eventually, it becomes predictable, almost cheap. But the older man, he's learned that real attraction is not built on chasing, but on creating tension. The kind of tension that comes from withholding just enough validation to keep her guessing. Imagine this. She throws a playful jab, expecting you to respond like every other guy, eager to win her approval, quick to assure her she's funny, beautiful, clever. Instead, you smirk. You let a silence hang. Maybe tilt your head as if you're deciding whether or not her joke was even worth responding to. And then, when you do speak, it's short, dry, maybe even a little challenging. That's the best you've got? That's when she feels the spark. Not because you praised her, but because you didn't hand your attention over so easily. Psychologically, this works because of scarcity. We value what we can't fully predict, what we can't completely possess. When you give nonstop validation, she knows exactly where she stands, and mystery dies. But when you hold back, when you make her earn those flashes of approval, you flip the dynamic. She starts working harder, leaning in, chasing that subtle nod of recognition that you rarely give. And here's the deeper truth. This isn't about playing games. It's about embodying self-respect. A man who respects himself doesn't hand out his energy cheaply. He doesn't give the same attention to everyone because he knows his focus is valuable. That's what women feel when an older man withholds. Not cruelty, not arrogance, but a disciplined selectiveness. It's the difference between fast food and a rare vintage wine. One is available everywhere. The other you savor when you're lucky enough to taste it. Flirting trick 5. The power of controlled silence. Most men fear silence. They rush to fill it with nervous chatter, jokes, or explanations, thinking that if they don't keep the conversation alive, she'll lose interest. But here's what younger women find magnetic about older men. The ability to sit in silence and not flinch. Silence isn't weakness when you own it. Silence, when wielded correctly, becomes a form of dominance. Picture this. You're sitting across from her. She throws out a question, maybe something teasing or provocative. Instead of scrambling to respond immediately, you pause. You hold her gaze. You let the air stretch just a little longer than she expects. That pause unsettles her, but it also pulls her in, because in that moment, she realizes you're not performing for her. You're not trying to win her with constant stimulation. You're comfortable letting her feel the weight of your presence. Psychologists call this non-reactivity. It's one of the most powerful signals of status and confidence. When you're unbothered by silence, you're showing that you're not desperate to please, not afraid of what she might think, not chasing her approval. And this is why younger women find it irresistible. Most men they meet are hyperactive, constantly talking, constantly selling themselves. The man who can hold silence without breaking it, he feels like a rock in the middle of a storm. Here's the secret. Controlled silence isn't emptiness. It's communication. It says, I'm not in a rush. I don't need to prove myself. You lean closer if you want more. It creates a magnetic pull, a kind of gravitational field where she starts filling the gaps, revealing more, talking more, chasing the connection you didn't force. That's when silence becomes your ally, not your enemy. Flirting trick 6. The magnetic force of playful unpredictability. Here's a truth most men never understand. Routine kills attraction. When a woman knows exactly what you'll say, how you'll react, and what you'll do, she might feel safe, but she won't feel excited. Younger women are especially tuned into this. They live in a world of endless stimulation, constant notifications, and men competing with predictable scripts. What older men do differently, the ones who know how to flirt with depth, is inject just the right amount of unpredictability. This doesn't mean being erratic or childish. It means breaking patterns in subtle, confident ways. Imagine she's expecting you to compliment her outfit. Instead, you pause, glance at her with a half smirk, and say, "That's dangerous." You don't explain it. You don't overdo it. You let the ambiguity do the work. Or maybe she tries to tease you, expecting you to defend yourself, and instead you laugh, lean back, and say, "You'll have to do better than that." Suddenly, she's thrown off balance, but in a way that excites her. The psychology here is simple. Unpredictability keeps her brain firing dopamine. When she can't fully predict your next move, she's more alert, more engaged, more drawn in. Evolutionary psychologists have found that unpredictability triggers the same brain circuits as reward anticipation. That's why younger women lean into it so strongly. It feels alive, electric, different from the ordinary. But here's the key. Unpredictability only works when anchored in calm confidence. If you try to be unpredictable out of insecurity, it feels like chaos. If you do it with grounded energy, it feels like intrigue. That's what makes the difference between being seen as immature versus magnetic. When you master it, you stop being another line in her script, and instead, you become the plot twist she didn't see coming. Flirting trick 7. The stoic depth that makes you unforgettable. Attraction might start with looks, banter, or energy, but what keeps a younger woman hooked is depth. She's surrounded by men who can text fast, crack jokes, or take her out, but very few who can make her feel seen on a deeper level. This is where the older man separates himself. He doesn't just flirt on the surface. He carries a kind of stillness, a grounded weight that makes her lean in and wonder, who is this man really? Picture this. She's laughing, teasing, playing the usual games. Then, in the middle of it, you look at her, not with need, not with lust, but with a calm, steady presence. You ask her something that cuts beneath the surface. What do you really want out of all this? Or, when was the last time you felt truly free? You don't push, you don't explain, you just let the silence carry the weight of the question. That moment will haunt her, because suddenly, she realizes she's not just dealing with another man trying to impress her. She's facing someone who can challenge her soul. The psychology here is brutal and undeniable. Women crave emotional intensity, not just entertainment. When you mix light-hearted flirtation with moments of raw, stoic depth, you become the man who makes her feel alive on all levels. Younger women aren't drawn to older men just for status or stability. They're drawn to the mystery, the sense that he carries storms and silence within him. This is why Seneca said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Your trials, your scars, your silence, they're not weaknesses. They're weapons. They allow you to flirt in a way no 20-something ever could. Not because you're trying harder, but because you've lived deeper. And in the end, that depth is what she'll never be able to forget. Here's the truth. Younger women aren't obsessed with older men because of money, cars, or status. Those things are shallow, and shallow attraction fades fast. What makes older men magnetic is that they've walked through fire and come out calmer, sharper, and harder to shake. The 7 tricks I laid out aren't just tactics. They're the natural expression of a man who knows himself, who no longer plays the boys' game of chasing approval. That's the secret. Women don't just want excitement. They want the man who makes them feel grounded, desired, and challenged all at once. But here's the part most men miss. These tricks only work if they're backed by truth. You can't fake calm if you're anxious inside. You can't fake playful teasing if you're secretly bitter. You can't fake depth if you've never wrestled with your own demons. The real work isn't memorizing lines or copying behaviors. It's building yourself into the man who naturally radiates these qualities. Then, the flirting takes care of itself. So if you're listening to this and something clicked, don't just nod and move on. Reflect. Ask yourself, why am I still playing like a boy when I should already be standing as a man? Change that. Because the moment you shift, women will feel it. Younger women, older women, doesn't matter. Attraction bends toward gravity. And the most irresistible men are the ones who move through the world with gravity. Now, if you want more on how to sharpen that edge, break free from the neediness, and step fully into the kind of man women can't forget, hit that subscribe button. This channel is where we cut through the noise, strip away the lies, and talk about what really makes a man magnetic. Drop a comment below with which of these 7 tricks hit you the hardest, and which one you know you need to master first. Because in the end, you don't win by chasing. You win by becoming. And when you become a man who carries calm confidence, playful power, and stoic depth, she won't just notice you. She won't be able to forget you.